Years ago, I heard a phrase that I love, and I have it be so important to remember. And I think it's catchy enough to remember because I've remembered it all these years. And the phrase is, I must be present to win. You must be present to win. And the way to be present to win is to align with the divine, to more easily and effectively use deep heart listening to hear divine guidance, catch a divinely inspired vision, and develop your intuition. So the human condition is that we listen to our ego. We listen to other people. We tell God, by whatever name we call God, what to do and when to do it. And we effort ourselves to try to figure things out with our intellect alone. Well, the spiritual solution to that human condition is our first Unity Santa Fe core value, which is God first. Very good. God first. And the way we do God first is to deep heart listening, so that we can catch God's vision for our life and then surrender that vision to our divine nature, that aspect, that real self that we are. We are God in expression, and our divine nature is God in us, as us. So, what would be in it for you? And if somebody could run the mic, grab a mic and run it around so that people on Zoom will be able to hear you. What's in it for you to align with the divine, to do deep heart listening, to catch God's vision, to develop your intuition? What would that do for you? Jerry.
Hello? Close? Oh, too close. For me, I can't do it closer. Scares me. For me, love, peace has come to my life.
Love and peace.
And opening my heart.
Right.
And that's where I am. Thank you, Brendalyn. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. Anyone else? What would it do for you to really put feet on today's message, to align with the divine? Reverend Kathleen.
My growing practice has shown me that abundance and prosperity are everywhere, around, and accessible, and deepened my faith beyond measure.
So aligning with the divine has really deepened your awareness that you are prosperous. You are prosperity in action. Right. Larry.
When I've aligned with the divine before, it's brought me much strength in my faith, joy, love, a lot of wisdom. A lot of wisdom I didn't know I had by opening up to that divine spirit inside of me. A lot of doubts are gone. My faith has taken over for those doubts. And I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Oh, that's great, Larry. So your faith, love, wisdom, joy, and all of those have just dissolved any doubt into the nothingness from which it came. Absolutely. Great. Catherine.
Well, it would also improve my relationships with other people.
Wow.
It would make me more accepting and more loving and more compassionate.
Yes. So increase your compassion and your relationships with others. Great. All right. I want to make sure y'all are all thinking about what this is going to do for you. And to me, what's in it for each one of us is nothing short of transformation. learning how to shift from our first thought to our second thought. Our first thought happens. We have no control over it. So I'm not responsible for my first thought. I'm responsible for my second thought and my first action. And the wisdom of the Enneagram, I got an email this morning and I thought, oh, got to put this in my talk. A universal teaching from the wisdom of the Enneagram. By relaxing our bodies, quieting the chatter of our minds, and allowing our hearts to be more sensitive to our situation, we open up to the very inner qualities and resources that help us grow. So what's in it for you? To open up to those very inner qualities and resources that help us grow. So I want to start off by distinguishing between the spiritual practice of visualization and the spiritual practice of visioning. So to put it simply, it's the difference between a mental science spiritual practice and a mystical spiritual practice. So for visualization, for me, is a mental science technique in which we take steps to bring something we want, a human idea, into manifestation. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great practice to have. Visioning, on the other hand, is a mystical process in which we shift our focus from the intellect to the heart. We practice deep heart listening and tune ourselves and align ourselves with our divine nature, God, in us, as us, in order to catch a divinely inspired vision, to align ourselves with that vision, and to allow it to come into visibility as a result of taking whatever steps we are divinely guided to take. Do you hear the difference? You hear the difference? So that allowing, I actually think it's surrendering, I put things on the don't know altar. I don't know how to do it. This is what I want, if it's for my highest good, but I don't know how, so I'm going to give it to my divine nature. Because my divine nature knows exactly how to bring it about, what I need to do. And when I tune into that, then I know what action to take to cooperate with it. So it's a difference between coming from our heart instead of just coming from our head. And our former Unity Santa Fe member and Unity minister, Reverend Ron Jones, said, "To be in our heart is to allow ourselves to be influenced by Spirit." Wow, what a novel idea! To be influenced by Spirit instead of just our ego. And he said to be in our head is to block ourselves from the influence of Spirit. So if we're just in our head, we are not aligned with the divine, we are not attuning to our divine nature, and we are in effect blocking ourselves from its influence. Now, I practiced visualization for years, and it works. It worked in my life from parking spaces. I can't even begin to tell you how many parking spaces I've gotten over the years. And it's ranged from those parking spaces to career changes to real estate. My first real estate purchase in Hawaii was with only $600 down, despite I called every real estate company on the island of Oahu, and every one of them said I had to have a minimum of $5,000, preferably 10. I got my first piece of real estate with $600 down. I earned my associate, my bachelor's, and my master's degree, very much using visualization, mental science. I advanced from being a clerk typist to being a human resources specialist, to being a mental health counselor, to being an ordained Unity minister. Yes, visualization works if you work it. And for me, it takes quite a bit of effort, quite a bit of human energy to visualize. Again, it works. On December 1st, 1994, almost 27 years ago, I became the spiritual leader of this wonderful community called Unity Santa Fe. And a few years later, or within that year maybe, I attended a New Thought conference where Reverend Michael Beckwith led us in a visioning process. I heard my colleagues raving about the process and sharing stories of seeming miracles happening in their personal lives and in their ministries. But I didn't get it. I felt so frustrated. I was unable to catch a vision from the divine because I was totally in my head. That's the way I lived my life before I learned about visioning and something called heart math. I was always trying to figure things out. How can I, of my human self, do this? Shortly thereafter, I'm sure it was within the same year, I attended an event at Unity Village led by Reverend David MacArthur. He's a Unity minister who at that time was working at the Heart Math Institute. I have to just always say, David MacArthur found Unity through Unity Santa Fe when he was an assistant attorney general for the state of New Mexico. And he went from that job to ministerial school. But anyway, at that time he was working for the Heart Math Institute. And that workshop changed my life by teaching me what may be the most significant spiritual practice of my life: deep heart listening, and a process called freeze frame. Finally, I understood the difference between listening from the head and listening from the heart. And this was the key that also transformed my ability to align with the divine and catch divinely inspired visions instead of limiting myself to ego-originated dreams. Before I learned heart math tools, I didn't know what people meant when they talked about coming from the heart. I thought they meant being nice, you know? Come from the heart, be nice. And it is part of that. But the difference is, by using these heart math techniques, I now receive specific guidance in how to see things differently and transform stinking thinking into loving, kind, generous, compassionate thinking. I've learned how to catch Spirit's vision for my life. So nowadays, you know, I'm big into computers, as much as I can be, but I like to think of the difference between visualization and visioning as two entirely different operating systems. One, an intellectual mental science operating system, and the other, a heart-inspired mystical operating system. So what's heart math? People say, am I hearing her right? Heart math. It's one word, the word heart, and the word math, as in mathematics. The Heart Math Institute's founder, Doc Childra's goal was to research and develop a simple, step-by-step system of scientifically validated tools anyone could use to help them listen to and follow their hearts as a source of intelligence. So the combination of these two words, heart and math, reflect the two essential aspects of the work. So the heart is not only the physical heart, it is also the higher human emotions like wisdom, love, compassion, courage, and strength. And math, in the context of heart math, refers to the stepping stones, the nuts and bolts of systematically unfolding the qualities of the heart. And it also refers to physiological and psychological equations for accessing and developing the heart's incredible intelligence. So the difference between using the heart intelligence to guide the intellect and using the head's intelligence dissociated from the heart is the difference between doing something under divine guidance and doing something by oneself under ego guidance, depending on our own will, our own ideas, our human power alone. And the brain works better. The intellect works better when the heart is engaged. They've proven this. Heart energy actually enhances our intellectual capacity. It assists us in moving beyond limiting emotional patterns to view a situation differently. And you know, A Course in Miracles says that a miracle is seeing things differently. Seeing things differently. And that's what happens when we tap into the heart intelligence. We engage our hearts by aligning with and attuning to God, by putting ourselves in a frequency related to love. And to the extent that we can do that, we are taken care of. Not because God loves us, but because we are attuning to the love that God is and experiencing God as love. All you have to do to experience more love in your life is to just live in your heart. It's that simple. In her book, Love Without End, Glenda Green was painting a portrait of Jesus, and he was modeling for her. And he said to her, "The heart has the most sophisticated security system on the planet. It will not open unless we are in the frequency of love. Unless we're feeling love and kindness, generosity, compassion, that sort of God quality, our heart will not open." I love that. Can you imagine going to the National Security Agency and not being able to open the door unless you were aligned with love? Wow. So heart math techniques include something called freeze frame. And it also includes care and deep heart listening to access our higher intelligence, our higher self, and what I think is the doorway to grace. And these tools will give you what the MacArthurs, David and his father Bruce, called the access code to the full utilization of the laws of transformation, which we awaken within our hearts through the core heart feelings of love, forgiveness, care, appreciation, understanding, courage, and others. So through the use of these tools, our lives are transformed. Because when we use these tools, we respond to life more efficiently and more effectively. So I just want to give you a taste of this, and I think I'm going to actually do it as a meditation so I don't keep you too long today. So I want to invite you to, I'm just going to hold off this freeze frame technique until we get to the meditation piece of the message. So, how do we do this? How do we tap into the heart? How do we practice deep heart listening? How do we align with the divine? And so, of course, it's prayer and meditation. This is Unity Santa Fe, and that's the first how-to every week. And so it's about turning within to that one presence, that one power that is living us, breathing us, supporting, nourishing, and inspiring us. That is our true essence, that we are made in the image and likeness of our God self. Okay? And as we do that, we are putting ourselves in alignment with divine wisdom, which will provide us whatever guidance we need, so that we do not have to limit ourselves to figuring things out of our human self alone. So your call to action today is to be present to win. To be present to win by using deep heart listening to more easily and effectively hear divine guidance and catch a divinely inspired vision, and then know what steps to take to bring it or allow it to come into manifestation. So let's begin aligning with the divine right now, being together in a sacred time of shared prayer, using the heart math freeze frame technique. All right. So I want to just invite you to, before you go into your heart, I want to invite you to bring to mind a stressful situation in your life. Not the most stressful situation of your entire life, including childhood trauma, but just a relatively mild, stressful situation. Maybe something that happened this morning or yesterday or the past week. Nothing hugely traumatic. And just bring that situation to mind and be aware of what the situation is and your thoughts and feelings about the situation. What is your inner voice saying to you? And what are you feeling about this situation? And I want you to just take a moment to think of one word that characterizes what you're thinking and feeling. If you had to describe it in one word, just think what that word would be. Now I want you to recognize the stressful feeling, and I want you to do what's called freeze frame. I want you to imagine you've got a remote control with a pause button. That's what a freeze frame is. And I want you to pause on those feelings. Just stop. And make a sincere effort to shift your focus away from those stressful feelings, away from the racing mind of disturbed emotions, and bring your attention to the area of your human heart. And just imagine that you are breathing in and out through the heart. Feel as if the heart, your lungs are in your heart, and you're breathing in and out through the heart. You might even want to put your hand or your finger on that area so that it helps you stay anchored there. And just do 3 or 4 breaths at your own pace. And now I want you to invite you, while you're continuing to focus on the heart, so maybe keep your hand or your finger there, I want you to recall a time when you've just felt a really wonderful feeling. Just activate a sincere feeling of joy, love, compassion, appreciation, gratitude. Feel that feeling as you continue breathing in and out through the heart. That's your access code. See, you're hacking the security system to open the heart with these feelings. So activate those regenerative feelings, those God-inspired feelings. And while continuing to focus on the heart, while continuing to feel these wonderful feelings, letting them go way beyond the heart, throughout the whole body, use your intuition, your common sense, and sincerely ask your heart, what would be a more efficient response to the stressful situation that you thought of originally? One that would minimize future stress. And just listen. You may hear words or see a picture, a vision. You may see a symbol. Don't discount any of it. And again, to just, if you had to characterize that in one word, what would that word be? And I want you just to remember that word. And sit with it. Sit with that new regenerative feeling in a few moments of silence. And as you gently bring your attention back to this time and place, allow your heart to fill with gratitude for this opportunity to align with the divine, to listen to the voice of the divine. And silently say, thank you, my divinity, my divine self, God of all. Thank you, thank you, thank you for speaking to me through my heart. And thank you for the wisdom and the courage to put feet on your voice. And so it is. Amen.